Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Midnight Monster Corner podcast. I'm your host, as always, Corey, and alongside me is my good pal, Tony. What's going on, Tony?
What's going on?
What's happening, brother?
Chilling, man.
So, how about this episode, man? You excited about this one?
I'm thrilled about this one, man. I'm ready to dive into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, before we do, I totally got some movies in. So, did you get anything this week? Have you watched anything?
Oh man, I actually haven't. I've been really slack this week. To be honest with you, I've been really slacking. Um, I have not gotten anything in. I did go to um Walmart last night. I was gonna pick up something. I picked up this movie called The Barge People. That looks really cool. I
Hmm.
looked at the cover and it kind of sucked me in. I was like, huh. But I was like, I was thinking about it. I was like, do I want to pay for a blind buy right now? And I was like, I don't know if I do or not. So I just was kind of indifferent about it. So I put it back. And then I got home and I did a little bit more research. And I found out it was it's kind of inspired by H.P. Lovecraft and movies like movies that are inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. So I'm like, damn, maybe I should have picked that up. So now
Cool.
I'm debating whether I need to go back and get it.
That's cool.
But yeah, that was the only one that looked intriguing. I wanted to go back and get the Lodge, but I couldn't find the Lodge because I watched that and really enjoyed that movie. So I wanted to go pick it up for the collection, but I didn't see it at the Walmart I went to. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a bummer. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Right on.
what about you, man? What'd you end up picking up?
Well, actually, I didn't pick anything up. My horror pack actually came in kind of early this month, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, so just real quick to name a few, four films came in it. So, The Shallows,
Oh,
which
okay.
honestly, I like The Shallows, so I'm really happy that I can finally upgrade it to the Blu-ray.
Hmm.
So there is that. So I will be turning in my copy, my DVD copy. Uh, Lords of Chaos.
Oh wow, damn.
Yeah.
What's okay? That's wicked.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I
I
don't.
mean,
I honestly, I don't know anything about it.
oh
So
really? Oh, that makes it even more interesting that you don't know anything about it. It's from what I understand, man. I know me and you are metalheads. You know the band Mayhem.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like a biopic of them and what they what went on with the band because there's a lot of crazy history with that band. But
Mhm.
it's set in the vein of like a horror film, so it's really fascinating. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard some good things about it, man. I'm really interested in to check that out.
Movie night.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
I've been wanting to check that out for a while, man. That's cool that it
Okay.
came in the horror pack.
Yeah, dude, some good titles have been coming in the horror pack. I'm actually quite
Yeah,
amazed.
no kidding.
Yeah. The other one is Rites of Passage, starring Stephen Dorff and Christian Slater. Again, I don't know anything about it, but it's done by Magnet, which
Okay.
I like that company. They put out some pretty decent titles. And then the last one is The Exclusive, which is also signed by the director, and it stars Tony Todd, called Agoraphobia.
Hmm.
I've never heard anything about this,
I haven't heard anything about that one either.
but Tony Todd's in it, so
Yeah,
I'm down.
that's always a welcoming sight when you see Tony Todd in a movie.
Yeah, even some of his crappier films, I
Yeah,
love.
he elevates. He's one of those actors that elevates whatever you know shitty B movie or whatever he's in. He just he just elevates it so much, so much more than its potential. Just
Yeah,
because he's Tony Todd.
gotta love him.
Oh yeah.
Wish I would have met him. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day, man.
But so, have you watched anything?
No, I haven't. Not since we talked last. I watched The Lodge, and like I said, man, that movie really blew me away. I really wanted in the collection because man, it was a really grim and oh man, it was just it's one of those movies, man. You just sense the dread, and it just I love movies like that. So when I watched it, I was like, man, I need this in the collection. So when I went to Walmart, I intended to pick it up, but I just didn't see it. So maybe it's just in maybe they're moving those. I mean, because I know it's been out for a good minute now, so maybe they're just pushing the old stuff in and bringing the new stuff in, and I just missed the boat on it, maybe. But
Yeah.
I do want to pick it up.
I, I talked to one of my neighbors the other day, and he actually went to Walmart and he picked up a whole bunch of Scream Factories just out of the blue. And I was like, "You kidding me?" And he was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I picked up," and he was like, he even said that he picked up the fog. I've been actually wanting to
Oh,
get that. I haven't gotten that yet.
really?
Yeah, but he said he found it like at Walmart the other day for $10, and I was like, Jesus Christ,
That's
the Scream
insane. I haven't
Factory
seen the
Blu-ray.
fog. No, I haven't seen the fog there. The last one I got was the Big Trouble in Little China Blu-ray, which I needed to get because I just absolutely love that movie. And
Yeah,
wanted to upgrade. I had the original Blu-ray release, but this one's got a lot more extras on it, so that's why I wanted it because I just really love that movie, man. I love to get into the production and the behind-the-scenes stuff, and I want to listen to that commentary, so that's why I grabbed that. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the fog though. That's cool. That's a good find.
I would love to see that up there. I would definitely nab that up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. If I didn't already have it, I would have snagged it up if I saw it.
Yeah, definitely. But things that I have watched this week, honestly, it was just one movie, and it was pretty cool. I was just kind of thumbing through Netflix the other day, and I saw Apollo 18. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna check this out finally. Um, I have no regrets. It was a pretty fun film. Um, kind of an alien type extraterrestrial film. It shows that I guess it's almost like a found footage style film, where pretty much there were these two astronauts that because after Apollo 17, NASA basically shut down the Apollo missions. Well, this movie plays out as if the government sent two more astronauts to the moon to put like these satellite dishes that track Russian radar
Hmm.
and stuff. And upon them going to the moon, some stuff starts happening to them, stuff like that. And then basically come to find out that all the moon rocks turn into aliens and they fuck you up real bad. So
Oh, okay, nice. That
that's
sounds bad.
basically the gist of it.
Sounds
Um,
interesting. I've known about that movie, but I never knew about the plot. That plot sounds really bizarre.
yeah, it really is, but it's pretty cool. There's a couple jump scares in it, stuff like that, and I really like that. And they kind of incorporated that, so it was pretty fun to watch. But it's honestly like rewatch value. I watched it once. It was fine. I
Okay.
told my wife she's a big fan of kind of like deep space stuff, so I would probably show it to her, and I'd probably watch it again for that. But other than that, I don't know. Maybe down the road if I'm thumbing through and I'm like, yeah, I want to watch that again, I might watch it.
Mhm.
It's definitely no Event Horizon though. I will say that.
It's
Um,
definitely an alien, huh?
no,
That's
that's pretty much it.
deep space horror right there. Alien. Doesn't get much better than that, man.
No, you can't. You
Oh,
really can't.
the gold standard.
No. I mean, unless you're like watching like I don't know, like Contamination or something.
Mm.
That's terrible. That's actually a fun film.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen it?
Oh, not contamination. No, I haven't
Yeah,
seen it.
I bought the Blu-ray, the Arrow Blu-ray from a convention.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, yeah. The Italian flick.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Luigi Cosi film. Yeah, yeah. I saw that.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking about it. For some reason, I was thinking of a more modern movie called Contamination.
Is it Contamination or
Yeah,
yeah, I guess it
it's
would be.
contamination. It's got they
Yeah.
deal with these eggs and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh man, those scenes are so fucking cool with the exploding eggs.
Yeah.
They watched Alien and like the egg. Yeah, we got to have shit like that. and a lot of them, because typical Italian shit, they see what's popular, and they try to
It's
rip it
definitely a
off.
blatant rip-off.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But they're like, yeah, we like that egg shit. We got to have that in our movies, and they have to explode, and they have to burn people. Oh yeah, it's absolutely bonkers, man. It's been a while since I've seen that though. I
Yeah.
just remember the eggs exploding and the movie just being completely ridiculous.
And the eggs like glowing and shit.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's fun stuff.
So,
Well, you ready to dive on in?
absolutely.
All right. Well, before we get started, I just want to go ahead and say that we will be probably doing a lot of spoilers. So, spoiler alert. This is going to be an in-depth review on this film. So, if you haven't seen it, highly recommend you stop right here and you go check the movie out because you don't know what you've been missing out on.
Oh, I mean, it's it's an amazing film.
It is.
So go out and watch it before you continue on with the review, so we don't spoil anything for you.
Yes. With that, I guess I'll jump straight into the storyline. So basically, you follow a character by the name of Frank Zito, who is obviously the killer. Right away, you get to know that he's the killer of the film, um, and pretty much you start realizing in his life, realizing why he kills and the things that the things that he does, and essentially he kind of tries to get out of it, tries to fall in love almost, and in the end, the killer still comes out in him. Tony, do you want to add to the storyline a little bit there?
Um, yeah, he definitely has the he's got the typical like Norman Bates mother issues that he has to throughout the entirety of the film. He kind of has to struggle with himself losing his sanity, and all the while also, which I found really really brilliant, especially this time watching it, how he was able to turn on the charms and be such a charming and charismatic individual when he needed to be. But then
Mhm.
behind the scenes, when he's locked up in his small little apartment, and it's almost like he's locked, the apartment's almost an epiphany or a representation of his mind and how closed it is and how just claustrophobic he feels, and how it slowly starts to break down his psychological um, profile. It's really fascinating, but it's really cool. Joe Spinell, who plays Frank Zito, his performance is just really really fascinating. There's some scenes where he just completely has a full conversation with himself, almost talking as him and then also as his mother, because
Mhm.
he obviously was abused when he was younger, and it's damaged him to the point where I doesn't trust women, or really has a hard time adjusting to women, and it's really really fascinating to see how that transpires throughout the movie, especially with Caroline Monroe's character,
Mhm.
which I was curious about it to you, and I was going to talk to you. I don't know if it was he was trying to establish a relationship with her, or maybe he was just I don't know. I didn't
Oh,
quite understand. But I'm not
my,
going to go any further than that because we haven't got to the end yet. So I'll just leave that there. But
I definitely want to get into that conversation eventually. Um, I kind of want to just kind of start with the first portion of the film
yeah,
and then
yeah,
work our way through because I feel there we could honestly just track through this film and talk all about this film.
hmm,
So okay,
okay,
so obviously you have Joe Spinell's character, and the opening scene right away you start to notice, and I actually didn't notice this right away. I mean, I did notice like so when he rolls out of his bed, the opening scene that you
mm,
see before he puts the shirt on, he's got burns all over his chest and stuff, right?
mm,
So, and then later on in the film, like I think it's like the next couple scenes or whatever, you see him burning a mannequin with a cigarette. You put
Right.
two and two together.
Right. And the mannequin, in turn, he's next to a shrine. It looks like a shrine of his mother. And the
Mhm.
mannequin that he burns the cigarette out on is a little boy mannequin. So you put two and two together, and that's him. So
Yeah.
he is effectively using that as a tool, being his mom in that sense, to really cope with this trauma and all the psychological torment that he had to deal with when he was younger. And that's just his way of kind of coping with it by basically becoming maybe his mother and doing what was done to him. So, which is fascinating too with the mannequins, and that's another thing we can get into. Um, how he reflects his mother onto these women and to these mannequins. So, and then he has the conversations that he has with them, really getting into his, history with the abuse and the torment that he faced from his mother. So, but we can get into that too when it comes down to it. But one thing I just wanted to say, man, right away was the score by Jay Chataway was really, really effective. It's not very heavy. It's not very it's almost like just a chime, but it's very, very effective in this movie, especially with the shots that are taken in the city and just with Frank in general. If the score fits the movie very well. I just wanted to throw that out there that I really listening to it this time and just really enjoying how simplistic it was. It wasn't really intricate or complicated. It was so simple, yet it was so effective.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. There's a lot of scenes where you get I don't know, you really get this sense of feeling with the score, and that's what I love the most about this film too. I mean, I love all aspects of this film, but yeah, you're right. The score definitely sets the tone, especially in certain scenes, and that's one of the things I really like about this film.
You know, and it's almost like this movie is in the gaze of a slasher film, but it's really more of a psychological character study.
Mhm.
Because when I first watched this movie, and this is going into, when I first started collecting this, Maniac was actually one of the first DVDs I picked up for my collection when I started collecting, and it was that artwork that just drew me in. I was on a big slasher kick, and I had to have every slasher movie I could find, and that poster is so iconic with just his profile and him holding the knife, and then the scalp, and then just the maniac in red. And I was always my dream to find that original one sheet and put it in my movie room because I just love that poster so much. But
Yeah.
I bought it fully convinced that it was a slasher film, and even the first time I saw it, I'm like, wow, this is not a typical slasher film at all. It's really more of a character study, and it's just so fascinating. But it does it. There's a lot of people, a lot of fans that have they say, hey, it's a slasher film, and then oh no, it's a character study. It's not really it's really psychological. It's not
Mhm.
doesn't have doesn't have too much to do with the typical slasher formula. So it's really interesting to see that debate kind of among fans sometimes. But I just wanted to
Well,
throw that out there too, man. It's pretty neat
yeah, I
that
mean
gets.
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, that was just saying that gets brought up in horror circles. What is this movie? What is it technically labeled? Some
Yeah.
people have a hard time kind of figuring that out because there's
Well,
so much going.
to your point though, I mean, what defines a slasher film? You got your killer, but at the same time, you don't really follow your character or your
Mm-hmm.
killer, you pretty much follow the victims of the film.
Yes.
Well, in this case, not only do you follow some of the victims, you also follow Frank Zito,
Right. Yep.
Jess Spinell's character. So I could see it going both ways. I could see it being classified as slasher, but yet at the same time, I could see it almost as a psychological thriller or something like that. So I could
Mm-hmm.
see it classified as both. But yeah, I don't discriminate.
I
Whichever
could,
one, I'm fine with it.
yeah, I could completely see how a movie like this could have inspired like Henry the Portrait of a Serial Killer or something like that. A
Oh,
movie
definitely.
like that, it seems like, yeah, it seems fitting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you definitely get the undertones of Psycho in a sense in
Oh,
this,
yeah. Hmm.
for the simple fact that even and here's we were talking about how, you know, Frank Frank Zito's sitting in his little itty bitty apartment, and at one point he's burning that little boy mannequin or whatever. And at one point you actually see him wearing well, I don't was that the scene where he's wearing glasses? I don't think that's the scene where he's wearing glasses, but he's just sitting there and he's, having a conversation, and you can definitely tell he's having a conversation from his mother's point of view. And that's something that I definitely want to get into, because obviously he's got mother issues here.
Yeah.
Um, but where he talks and he's like, I wish you wouldn't do the things that you do, but I know I can't stop you from doing them, you know?
Hmm.
And I mean, it's blatant. You can tell that he's definitely talking as if he's talking from his mother's point of view to him.
Hmm.
So, and it almost kind of takes me back to what was it? It was I think Psycho 2, where
Yeah.
Anthony Perkins is sitting in the jail cell and he's having a conversation with his mom right there,
Hmm.
you know? So,
Yeah. Spinell was able to do that so brilliantly too. He was able to just, like I said earlier, he comes off, psychologically damaged, and when he's by himself, he kind of lets that out all his pin up, you know, all his pin up, feelings and stuff like that when he's having these conversations between himself and his mother, also
mhm.
himself, and then and then when he has to, he can be charming and very, very, you know, I mean, he could just completely switch up his personality, and it's just fascinating. I watched the last couple times I watched it. I've realized that more and more how he was able to flip it like that, and it's really, really neat how he was able to do that. It just goes to show how committed that Spinell was to this performance, and I
Oh,
really think he poured his heart and soul into this project. I know he partially funded it and was really, really intent on making this movie because he really wanted to. It was more of a passion project for him, and
well, he
it
wrote
goes
the
to show on
he wrote the
screen.
screenplay.
Yeah, it goes to show on screen. He was definitely motivated to make this character work and to come across as completely genuine, and it shows. I love his performance in this movie. You can sit down and watch him, and he feels so. It's almost so realistic. The way the film's shot and the way he acts is really, really realistic.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, where you were talking about how he can almost kind of switch it off in a dime.
Amazing.
So obviously he starts dating this girl throughout the film, right? Caroline Monroe,
Yeah.
played by Anna
Well,
D'Antonio.
yeah, it's
I
Anna
can't pronounce it.
D'Antonio, but she's played by Caroline Monroe.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So she, she kind of obviously becomes like his girlfriend in the film, and again, like you said, he puts off this wonderful charm about him and
Yeah,
everything, almost kind of very innocent type. At first he was kind of joking around with her, but then he gets very innocent and very what's the word I'm looking for? I guess almost like a little passionate in a sense.
yeah.
Um, but there's one scene, the scene that I ultimately love between the two characters. So he's at her studio and he's watching her take pictures because she's a photographer.
Yeah.
And she walks up to him and she's talking to him for a minute and she walks away from him and he just starts staring at her and just breathing really heavily. It's
Mm.
almost like there's the demon coming out of there's the killer sitting right there. He
He's
puts
trying to.
off this persona like he wants to be somebody else, but at the end of the day,
He
he
can't
ultimately is this
escape who
person.
he
He's
really is.
he's a
Yeah,
killer.
he can't escape who he really is. It always comes into play. And
Yeah.
there's another little subtle. There's a subtle scene um, when I think it's when he gives her the present and she opens it up and she's very thankful and she gives him a kiss on the cheek. If you noticed, when she kisses him on the cheek, he kind of rubs it off like he's very uncomfortable with it. So I mean, I just thought about that, and it just goes to show how uncomfortable he is. Um, I guess with the relationship, I don't really know if he fully was intent on a relationship or he just wanted to get in with her to get to the girl Rita that he kind of fixates on too, that she's taking pictures of in the studio. So it's really, really fascinating to kind of see where his head was at. And I just noticed that because as soon as she kisses him, he kind of rubs it away, and it's like, that's a really subtle scene, but it really goes to show his character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, one of the other things, and this was kind of something that was brought up earlier, where we were kind of talking before everything. The scene where he's got the girl tied up in the hotel room. Um, he has a
Oh,
blatant conversation with her, and like he pretty much just spills it out there of why he does the things that he does. Ultimately, he had a love for his mom, who she physically and verbally abused him, I think.
mhm.
Obviously physically, but I think there was some verbal abuse there too.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
It definitely had to have been.
but he has a love for his mom, and yet he saw her day in and day out go out and really just pretty much sell her body. So he knew she was a hooker. And he point blank says, they won't love you like I love you, and stuff like that. And he's like, tonight you're not going anywhere, you're gonna stay here with me. And I mean, he's straight up talking to his mom. And what I love the most about it is the girl. She still ended up dying, obviously, but she tried like getting almost back at him. She was like, started talking to him as if she was his mom and stuff. And then he ultimately ended up killing her. But that was, I thought that was a really cool scene as well. It really
And
definitely dove into the psyche of Frank Zito there as well.
yeah, and to go to show with the production too, this movie captures real it captures my favorite New York on film, and that's the late 70s, early 80s grimy, just dirty New York. Like I love that in movies. I mean, there's been done in so many movies, and I'm so thankful that these movies were shot in the era that they were because it's really cool to see New York like this. Because nowadays it's not like this at all. It's cleaned up. It's completely different than how it looked in this movie. And I know this movie was shot, I know they did a lot of shots, guerrilla style. They didn't have the proper permits to shoot these scenes in New York, and they had to basically, after shooting the infamous head explosion scene, which I'm sure we're going to get into.
Hmm.
That was another one that was shot without a permit. So literally, after they shot that scene, they had to pick up all their equipment and book it before the cops came, which is
Hmm.
really, really cool. It's neat to see, like, almost that shoot from the hip you know kind of shooting of a film. It's really, really neat. And I just love the way this film is still so gritty. I know I watched the since I do have my remastered 4K Blu-ray, but I watched my older Blu-ray for this viewing, and it's really neat to see it still kind of grimy, and just the film stock is not really cleaned up enough, and it's really fascinating to watch the movie like that. It's almost a movie you don't want too cleaned up because you really want it to keep that grit that it really
Yeah.
has. So
Yeah.
I like kind of watching it like this too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it really does capture kind of the essence of what was that street? 42nd Street, was it?
Sure, yeah,
Yeah, just pretty much like the nasty grime. I mean, yeah, it's where you would go to find the smut shops
yeah.
and
There's
get a cheap hooker and stuff like that. I mean, that's when you think of 80s New York, 80s, that's what you think of. I mean, that's point blank like that specific street. I mean, that kind of says it all. It's just gritty, it's nasty, it's scummy.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's nasty, man. You can just it oozes off screen. It's just so disgusting. But that's what I love about it because I love New York and I love that era of New York because of
mhm,
what it was. It was so different than what it is now.
yeah.
Which is
Uh,
funny you brought up that scene in the beginning when you know, the first victim he has is the girl and her boyfriend on the beach, and that's pretty much opening the movie. with that kill, and then when he kills the hooker, she's talking to her other friend who is obviously another hooker, and she talks about the ultimate, and this guy wanted the ultimate, and I always wanted to know what the ultimate was because she was like, this guy, I've seen everything, but he had something I've never seen before, and it was the ultimate. But she never goes into what it was, and I'm always like, what was the ultimate? What could that have been?
I bet you
What could be
Disco
so
Boy would have
great,
known.
Yeah.
We should ask Tom Savini. So, what exactly is the ultimate?
Exactly was the ultimate. Yeah, man. I always wondered that. Like, she never got to finish her. She never got to finish that story because Frank comes up and then he takes the other girl and goes into the room, which you have a cameo by the director, William Lustig, in that. I think he plays the hotel manager in that scene. So yeah, that's a cameo from him. But that's right before he effectively kills her, which is probably the most. I don't know. I think because she is a hooker, that was more of a personal kill for him because that's reminded him of his mother more than any other girl in the movie because she was the hooker that he killed. So
Yeah,
I think
totally.
yeah, I think that was a more personal kill for him because the way it really is a gruesome scene. The way he choked her, it was one of the most intense choking scenes that you'll see. I mean, it's really really uncomfortable almost watching it, but I think that's just because it was more personal.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely, definitely. Um, there's something else that I wanted to bring up real quick. So we haven't really talked about the mannequins too much, but I do want to talk about that. So
definitely one
in his home, obviously he scalps his victims and then he places their hair on the mannequins.
mannequins
And
as well as their clothes that they were wearing when they were killed. That's another thing. He put all their clothes that they were wearing when they were killed on the mannequins as well. So
yes,
he pretty much immerses that victim into the mannequin.
yeah. That's so yeah, like you said, and he even says it at one point. He says, something about, oh, because he kind of makes reference to it when he's talking to his girlfriend, the photographer.
Mhm.
Um, he tells her, hey, or some about the images, and he's like, well, it's a way to capture them and keep them for yourself, you know. And I think that's what he does with the mannequins. He puts the hair on them, puts the clothes on them because after he kills them, he keeps them for himself.
I love how you brought that up, Corey, because that is so true. I thought about
Yeah.
it more and more this time watching it. That scene in particular, that dialogue in particular, it made so much sense considering the fact that he's trying to capture the essence of these victims with exactly what they had on and exactly, their scalp and everything. He wanted to preserve them. He wanted to keep them.
Mhm.
Because even he told one of his victims, "I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to keep you." So in his mind, he can justify it as keeping their essence and keeping, you know, whatever they were at the time of their death. The same way that, to your point, getting brought up with the photography, the photographs and stuff like that. That's a way of keeping someone's image, and that's essentially what he was doing with the mannequins. I love that you brought that up, man. That was perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. And then ultimately you see that at the end, when all the mannequins come to life. In his vision, all the mannequins are coming to life and they're retaliating against him, you
Yeah.
know.
So, which is such a breakdown because it's a slow progression throughout the movie of him slowly starting to lose his sanity and starting to lose grip on reality and becoming more and more, damaged in his mind, more damaged than he already was. But he finally has a psychological breakdown at the end, and it really is crazy the way they did that, and I love that ending. I really do. I think it's so perfect. I don't
Yeah.
think you could have ended the movie better than it was, than ending for this one. it seemed to fit everything with the slow progression of his breaking point until the end. So,
Yeah.
oh, there was one scene. So the scene that I'm thinking of, when he's in the subway chasing the nurse down, and it's it's very, very cool how it's terrifying the way it's executed. She's obviously you know under distress, and she's hiding for her life, and he's just chasing after. But did you realize? And I know you're gonna love this, Corey. Did you realize that that nurse? Have you seen her before in a movie? That actress
She looked familiar.
look familiar. Well, you're just gonna
Mhm.
blow your mind when I tell you who that actress is. So that actress is the mom in Rawhead Rex.
No way.
Yep,
Fucking kidding me?
sure is, man. I'm not. Yep,
Wow.
because I knew she looked so familiar, and I was like, wait a minute, I've seen her before, and I looked it up, and sure enough, she was in Rawhead Rex, man.
Wait, now are you talking about which Kelly Piper?
Yes.
So was she the pregnant lady that got killed by Rawhead
No,
in the
she
movie?
was the mom of the main character in Rawhead. She was the mom of the two kids. At the end,
Oh
she
my,
held up the stat. Yeah,
that's insane.
yeah. I figured you. I know how much you love Rawhead, so I figured you'd get a kick out of that.
That's cool, man. Thank you. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I knew. I mean, because I watched it. I mean, obviously, I saw this movie before Rawhead, but I watched Rawhead, and I was like, "Damn, that actress looks familiar." And I had to look it up, and sure enough, she was in both.
That's cool.
Funny stuff, man. Yeah, but that scene, I mean, just amazingly shot too.
Mhm.
The fact that she's running through a subway and no one thinks anything of it, like it's just so fitting for it
Yeah.
being New York.
And once again, it captures the essence of gritty New York.
Yeah.
It really does, even to the bathroom scene, which I wanna bring that up, and I think we've talked about this several times before. And again, I'm trying. If anyone's listening, please let me know if there's any validation behind this, because I honestly don't know, and I can't seem to find anything on it or anything like that. But so obviously we know Joe Spinell from The Godfather, right?
Oh yeah.
Stars Marlo Brando.
Mhm.
And well, Marlo Brando was in a film called Apocalypse Now.
Yep.
You know what I'm getting at, right?
I think I know where you're getting at.
So the scene where he kills the nurse in the subway, on the wall is written Apocalypse Now. And I was
Yeah.
just wondering if that was, kind of paid homage to Marlo Brando or something like that.
No, I'm sure it had a lot to do with it. Sure it had a lot to do with
And
it.
it even looked like the similar lettering and everything.
Yeah.
But if anyone's listening and they know a little bit more about that trivia there, I would like to know more about that because I've always wondered about that. And I've looked on IMDb and stuff like that, and I can't seem to find anything on it.
Hmm. That's fascinating. Yeah, it's nothing on there's nothing on IMDb about it, but I wish you could talk to the director, man, and kind of see what was behind that, or what he thought about it, because I'm sure he had a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
that whole scene's fascinating. I love the fact that she it really builds up to where she's like, oh, finally, like he's gone, like I'm finally safe, because she's so timid and scared out of her mind until she looks over and sees that he's no longer there, and then she's kind of just exhales and is so happy, and then as soon as she goes to the mirror and washes her face off, you know who's going to be behind her.
Yeah.
As soon as she looks back up, like it's going to happen. You can see it coming from a mile away. But it doesn't. But
Surprise, there it is.
knowing, yeah, knowing that it's going to happen doesn't make it any less effective,
Mhm.
because it really is effective.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you just know what's going. You know what's
Oh
going
yeah,
on. You
definitely. So with that, favorite kill?
Ooh. I mean, I don't want to sound cliche though, man, but honestly, that head explosion, the Tom Savini head explosion scene is tops, man. It's one of the best head explosion scenes in the history of cinema. So,
It really is. Yeah.
it, and the story behind it, and everything. I think that makes it even better. The fact that it was Savini himself, because they only had one take to get it right, because they were shooting without a permit, and they had to leave as soon as they shot that gun. They had to take off because they knew the police were coming. So the
Mm,
fact that Savini effectively blew his own head off just makes it even better.
yeah.
It's just the story behind it that just makes it more fascinating. But it's so well done. And a matter of fact, it's the only I remember, Siskel and Ebert when they watched the film. Ebert actually walked out of the movie after that scene because he said it was just too much. He couldn't handle it, and he's only walked out of a few movies in his whole reviewing, career, and this was one of them because he said, basically the movie couldn't redeem itself from that. It's too gruesome. It could never redeem itself after that scene. So that just goes to show how iconic it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, that has to be my favorite kill. I mean, it it's just I know it sounds cliche because all horror fans know that head explosion scene, but it's so well done.
Yeah. And I'm right there with you 100%. I think it's such an awesome scene. Um, it's not every day, and that was the thing. So back then, I mean, this film was shot in 1980. So there wasn't a whole lot of head explosions happening then because you had to sell your movie. Well, the rating system was, I mean, they were cutting every fucking thing. So I mean, for a film to come out in 1980 with a head explosion, I mean, I could have seen more head explosions happening in the 90s, in which we did. There was a couple, um,
Mm-hmm.
or at least just like headshot scenes, where somebody's getting shot in the head.
Yeah.
But in reality, I was really fascinated by the fact that this movie actually made its way out into the public with that head explosion. So in my opinion, they were really pushing um,
Savini was
the
pushing
buck
it,
on that one.
which is funny because just a couple of years earlier, the famous head explosion from Dawn of the Dead, Savini did that head explosion as well, and
Mm,
then a year after this movie, the famous Scanners head explosion. So it's in that small time frame where some of the best head explosion scenes in horror history occurred. You
yeah.
had Dawn, then you had Maniac, and then you had Scanners, which I mean, those are the three tops. I can't think of three better than those, honestly.
Yeah. Isn't there a head explosion in Prowler as well?
Yeah, and Prowler too. Yeah,
Prowler.
done by
And
Savini as well.
yeah. And
So
and one more. Geez, it's a Lucio Fulci film.
the
Can't think.
head
Yeah.
explosion in a Lucia Fulci film.
Uh, fuck, what's the name of that movie? New York Ripper.
Huh.
Right. He gets shot in the head at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that one, yeah, because the way I actually like the way they did that too, because it goes to his cheek
Yeah.
and it splatters his brains and stuff along the wall. Yeah, it's really, really cool. I mean, you can tell it's a dummy, but it's really, really cool. I love that. I love that part. I really do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just goes to show you, man, that small little window of them getting it right, and most of those, Sabini didn't take part in one of those. Out of all the other ones, Savini just didn't do one. It was that Scanners one he didn't do, but other than that, he had his hand in every one of them. So yeah, man, he's definitely Savini was top of his game. He was on top of his game. And this was his run, and I mean, he even said, I think I was reading IMDb. He said he probably thinks that they went a little too far with some of the gruesome acts of violence that they did in this movie. So
Yeah.
this goes to
Which I
show,
which I
you
mean,
know,
some of it was pretty gruesome.
oh, it
You
really
know,
was.
even all the way down to the end scene where he had that knife sticking out of his gut. That's pretty cool
That
looking.
that whole breakdown of Frank and them tearing him apart was really, really brutal. and then
Yeah,
then ripping his head off and just chopping him up into pieces. And yeah, it was really cool.
yeah, yeah. I really enjoyed that.
There's just so much to love about this movie, man. It's such a psychological character study that you just get immersed in the character, especially his performance. It just keeps you just zoned in and really just it's like a roller coaster ride. Seeing him try to preserve these victims of his that remind him. I mean, in a lot of ways, they remind him so much of his mom. Each one of them, I think, is just young, beautiful women, and he has that image of There's even that scene where um, when he's with Carolyn Monroe's character Anna, and they're on a date essentially. She asks about his mom, and he's like, well, we lived in, I think he said, we lived in Queens, but she was taken from me in an automobile accident. And then she's like, well, do you have a picture of her? And he's like, yeah, because he gave her the picture and said, you're the most beautiful woman I've seen since my mom. And that's what prompted that whole conversation to come up. But I think, he tries to preserve these women and, you know, in essence to his mom, essentially. And I mean, it just has a lot to do with it. And I don't know, it's just, to me, it's a fascinating movie about, it's one of the more fascinating movies about a man that, has mother issues,
Hmm.
essentially turns into a psychotic serial killer.
Yeah, yeah. I really love everything about this film. Um, and it all comes down to honestly just the writing of it as well.
Yeah.
You've got just such great dialogue between characters. The acting is phenomenal, all the way down to just the concept of this film is just really really cool. Um, and something else that they kind of did. This was almost kind of like groundbreaking, for because it was a film that actually followed. So you're the audience and you follow the killer.
Hmm.
And I think I brought that up in the beginning where, in most films, obviously you follow the victims, you don't so much follow the killer. So I really like the fact that they did that about this film and stuff. So it's really cool.
Yeah. Essentially a character study, more so than a straightforward slasher film.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's really really neat, man. Right on the golden age of the slasher boom, like 1980 and then 81, and that's when they took off. And it's really really cool. I mean, I've been this is one of my favorite movies to come out of the 80s or just horror movies in general because it's just so much to delve into with this. You can watch it many times and get a lot of different things. And it seems like each time I watch it, I pick out something different about the story, about how it progresses, and um, I don't know. I just don't understand how people could just push it off and say, "Oh, it's just a gore film. It's just there's no substance to it. It's just a kill after kill after kill, you know, slice and dice movie." But no, there's really so much more to it than that. And I think people just kind of unjustly put it in a box where it's just it has no substance at all, which it really does. It really has a lot of substance.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely, definitely.
Yep.
Well, I think we pretty much covered everything. Oh, do you know what the budget of this film is? It blows my mind that this budget was this low.
Um, is it 40? It's 48,000. I think is the
Mm,
original budget.
There's 350,000.
Oh, it got up to 350 because the original budget was that, and then I guess they padded some more onto
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, it was an estimated 350, but I mean even still.
That's
So
cool.
essentially it's a lower budget film, you know.
Yeah, which I know, which is really fascinating because I didn't really know this, but Dario Argento had talked of being I believe a producer or working on the film to some capacity. Um, And the fact that, you know, Daria Nicolodi, his wife at the time, who he cast in a lot of his films, was supposed to play the role of Anna, but she was unable to um, make the trip to New York because she was still shooting. They were still shooting Inferno at the time. So
Okay.
pretty fascinating that she could have been in the role. And I think it's funny too because when I don't know if it was a snap decision to cast Caroline Monroe's character, but she's supposed to be this, I guess, Italian New York girl, but she still has her British accent. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So I guess it was just one of those quick. Hey, we need an actress. I mean, we got Caroline Monroe. Let's put her in. You know,
She actually starred in she actually starred in Slaughter High.
she did.
Wow,
She's
pretty
been in a
cool.
lot, man.
I was just looking at her. She's got as an actress, she's got 50 credits.
Yep,
That's
she's
pretty
done her
cool.
fair. She's done her fair share of horror films. She can be labeled a scream queen.
Yeah, she's right up there.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, man. Well, you got any other points that you want to bring up in your notes or anything?
Mm, no, I think I brought up just about everything I wrote down. Um, yeah, I pretty much nailed every topic that I was gonna talk about. So yeah, we
Um,
delved into it pretty deep, man.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just everything about this film was fun. I can't say enough about it.
Yep.
It's and the thing is honestly like you know how there's always going to be like one or two things that you can pick out, and I when I watch this film, I don't look to pick anything out. I mean, I critique films pretty good,
Hmm.
but when it comes to actually sitting down and watching this one, um, it's more or less I'm watching a masterpiece than anything.
Yeah.
I wish Joe Spinell did a lot more horror films. I really wish he had, you know, in his career and in his time in life because he was great at what he did. He was actually a wonderful actor,
He
really
really is.
wonderful actor,
He really
and
was.
obviously a great screenplay writer as well.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I know they wanted to make a sequel at one time, and it's just unfortunate they never did. They did make he did make another horror film called The Undertaker, which is pretty cool.
like,
Um, it's kind of like it kind of has some similarities to Maniac in a sense, and it's like a character study in another way, but it's kind of yeah, it's kind of got a lot of similarities to Maniac, so it might have been like a spiritual sequel to Maniac. But I know they definitely wanted to make a sequel. I don't know why that never happened, but you know, it's kind of a shame it didn't happen. But in a way, it's like at least we have Maniac, and at least we have this performance, and you know, we can always appreciate that performance and what he was able to do. And you could tell he just really wanted to play this role, and it was more. It wasn't just like a paycheck for him. He really wanted to do this. Like he gave up some of his own money for the production. I mean, he really this was a passion project for him. So kudos to him. And we have his performance on celluloid for forever. So thankfully we have that. His memory
mm.
will live on. So
Well, it does say on as I just went on his IMDb and I'm looking it up, and there was a Maniac 2 short in 1986,
mm,
and he stars as a Mr. Robbie in the movie,
okay,
which I never knew about.
yeah. I
That's
just
pretty
knew that
cool.
they always wanted to. I remember hearing something about they just wanted to make a sequel to this. So
Well, I mean, they left it off to where they could,
mhm.
you know, because right there, you know, right there at the end, I can't. I think he opens up his eyes or something, right? So I mean,
Mhm.
he's not dismantled or dismembered because the mannequins really can't do that. And in his mind, they did that to him, but he ultimately the cops come in, they see a knife hanging out of his belly, and they're like, "Oh, well, I guess he's already dead." So then they just kind of walk out of the room.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You would just imagine that they're setting up a crime scene or something, but they don't even check his pulse or anything like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
they're like, oh well, I guess that happened.
Yeah, I don't know the proper protocol, but yeah, I know they probably should have at least checked his pulse to see if he was still alive or not.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's a good point too. I didn't bring that up, but that was something I thought of after watching it.
yeah. So you're just gonna leave him there? Okay.
Man,
But, yeah, yeah, just like I said, there's honestly nothing I can say bad about this. I mean, other than I guess like, okay, the unrealistic cops in the end of the film. But that's pretty much about it. Um, so going on, and we can kind of, I think we can kind of end the show here in a minute, but I do want to just talk a little bit about it. But obviously, the remake, I
well,
don't want to go into detail with it because it's been a while since I've watched it, and to be honest with you guys, or to be honest with the 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 audience, if you're listening, if you want to see a review on the remake, we could probably make that happen. If you like this review. But I remember not wanting to give it a chance at all. I think you were the one that was like, "Yeah, you need to watch that because it's actually pretty decent."
oh yeah, it blew me away, man. It's probably one of the best horror remakes I think that's been done. Um, Especially like modern ones. That's easily the best. I don't think you get much better than the Maniac remake. It's shot so cool how it's first person the whole time. So you see, you're basically the eyes of the killer, and the fact that you know, uh, Elijah Wood plays Frank in that movie
Mhm,
that's the one thing that turned a lot of people off. But then when they saw the movie, they're like, "Wow, his performance was actually really solid. Like he's
mhm.
really good." So he
Yeah,
kind of blew people away with his performance, and a lot of people weren't going to give him a chance. So I don't know. I love that remake. It's really phenomenal.
yeah. I think when I found out that not only were they remaking the film, and then they casted Elijah Wood as the main character, I was like, dude, what the fuck are they doing? How can you do that? And just watching him in Lord of the Rings and stuff, I was just like, there's no way Frodo Baggins can be a killer. I was not going to give it a chance at all.
It's hard to separate it from it's hard to separate him from that role. It's like it epitomized his career. But I mean, a lot of people don't realize that Elijah Wood's a horror fan. Like he loves horror movies. So
Yeah,
that was one he definitely wanted was he wanted to portray this character, and he was really really excited about it. So I think he did a phenomenal job.
yeah, and I mean, and there was another kind of so. But yeah, to your point, I think he did actually a great job. I love how it paid tribute and homage to the original film as well. Um, and I think I'm gonna leave that conversation right there. And like I said, if any of you want to see a review on that, um, just leave a comment down below and we'll get that going for you. But yeah, as far as like remakes and stuff, usually I don't like to give them chances too much. Um, but I think so I almost did that again with Halloween. When I found out they were coming out with a new Halloween film, I was like, I can't do that. But then like, Jamie Lee Curtis was in it and stuff like that. And then I think you were like, you got to watch that in the theaters and you were like, dude, you need to check that out. It's pretty good. And yeah, I ended up loving that one too. So I guess I need to start watching more and more remakes, huh?
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where I've been desensitized. I don't mind remakes anymore. I know a lot of horror fans hate them. I'm just like, you know what? They're gonna make them. They're gonna make them. I don't really complain about them too much. I go in giving them a fair shot every time I see them. So I don't. I try not to prejudge a movie before I go in to see it. I try to watch it with an open set of eyes and open mindset. And, you know, and usually sometimes you get really taken back by a performance and a new remake, a modern remake, and that's one of the times I was like, wow, that really blew me away. I love the way that they did this. Because
Yeah.
if you want to do a remake right, you take the original concept and then you just tweak it a little bit to your own, and that's how you do a remake. And I think they did that perfectly with this Maniac remake. But I'll just leave that there just in case we get into a review of that one, which would be really fun.
Yeah, I think I would like that a lot.
I definitely would. There's a
I
lot
mean,
to get to with that one as well.
well then the hell with it. Let's just go ahead and jump into doing a review on that one.
Yeah, it's been a couple years since I've seen it, so I think it's due for a revisit.
Yeah, I'm game. I'll watch it. Oh, we can just plan on doing that next week then.
Yeah, that's fine with me, man.
Okay.
Make,
Well, the hell
making
with it.
decisions
Let's do
now.
it.
Why not?
All right.
Seems fitting.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to bring up before we ended the show, Tom Savini's name in the movie, Disco Boy.
It's no boy.
I love that. I love how they couldn't just it couldn't have been like a Roger or a Dave. No, fucking
No,
Disco Boy. He
that'd be
doesn't even
disco.
look like a disco boy.
No, he really didn't. I guess they were in a club and it was the time period. So yeah, I guess they just put two and two together. And that's how they label them.
I guess so. Jeez. That's funny. Did
Oh, yeah.
he signed your Maniac 10, didn't he?
He did, man. I love that 10 too, man.
Did
Ah,
he personalize it or anything or no?
no, no, he just put his name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wish he would personalize stuff.
I do too. I do too. That would have been great, but yeah, it is what it is. At least I got it signed.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, you think you're ready to end this show?
I think it's time.
Cool.
We've gotten to it.
Yeah. Well, folks, you've been listening to the Midnight Monster Corner podcast, and this concludes our show on Maniac, 1980 Maniac. With that, uh, like always, like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. What is your thoughts between the original Maniac and the remake? We would love to pick your brain about that. If you want to join the discussion on Facebook, you can check us out on Facebook. You just type in the Midnight Monster Corner podcast in the search engine, and we will pop up. You ask us nicely, we'll let you in, and from there you can just have a conversation, post shit, and whatever you want to do in there. We like to have fun in there. So with that, Tony, you got anything, man?
I got nothing, brother. That was perfect.
All right. So we will go ahead and say yes. We're going to do the remake next week. So
Sounds like a plan to me.
hell yeah, I'm game for that. And also, if anyone has any validation on the Apocalypse Now thing, I would really like to know about that. So let us know. Let us know. Like always, later, guys.
Later.